Welcome to Politics Done Right. My name is Egberto Willies, your host. Good morning, Houston. Good morning, Harris County. Good morning to the great state of Texas. And of course, good morning to the United States of America. Good morning to every corner, every nook and cranny where where the signal from the 100,000 watt transmitter permeates throughout Northeast Texas, Southeast Texas, Southwest Louisiana, Northwest Louisiana. We're going to have a great show for you today. You know what, folks? Let's make it a great day. No matter what's happening in your life, remember you are in control of your own presence. You are in control of your own sphere. You are in control of your own influences and what influences you. You have a lot more control than you believe, no matter what you're going through today. You are only you. Anyway, before we get busy, let's go to the great, beautiful geniuses in the control room on Caroline.
And I have control of the tin cans and string, and they're
Yes, you
working.
do. Yes, you do. And actually, Arnie Artisan played right through.
That's because I got it from a different source. We're still
Oh.
struggling with that, but I came across a clue yesterday afternoon while discussing it with their producer. Whether
Mm-hmm.
I think he's a former general manager of the station up there. They
Mm-hmm.
were out there setting up their transmitter and trying to get some power to it because they're changing towers. And I was discussing it. I went, you know, something. There was another show that did the same thing for a while, and I realized what it was. So I made some adjustments, but I used their version that they sent me through Dropbox this time. So we'll try it again
Ah.
tomorrow and see if maybe I was right. But you
Well,
know, when you're dealing with computer codes and it's a very complicated system. There's several steps that go through how we get shows.
right.
Any one of the steps, if there's a problem with it, it could show up on your radio or not show up on your radio, which has been the case. Anyway, that's no rants from me today. I'll think up a rant maybe for tomorrow or the next day or so. But
So,
Jack has some wisdom. He always has some wisdom.
Yes,
so
he
you're
does.
rantless. You're rantless today, huh?
I am. I just don't feel like ranting today. I could rant about the Republican candidate for president and his woes, but the man just can't keep his mouth shut. I mean, this judge up in the Stormy Daniels case has tightened the gag order on him. He says, "Well, they can talk about me, but it's not fair that I can't talk about them." Well, they're not threatening anybody. They're not threatening you. There's a big difference in what Trump is saying about them and what they are saying about him. They're generally being pretty quiet about it because, well, you know, they've got this legal thing going on, but he's out there spouting garbage again as usual. So that would be my only rant if I were to have one, but I'm not going to have one. So how about
Well, it seemed
Jack?
to me like you had one.
Well,
It was a secret rant.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's right. It's a non-rant. It's the new Republican rant. It's a rant, but it isn't a rant.
Oh, okay. Got you. So, Jack, talk to me, Jack.
Oh, well, I read your little article to that this morning on the wealthy, so I wrote something to go with it. Reagan, along with the Chicago boys, flipped us to a new economic policy called neoliberal economics. They called it trickle down economics when actually it funnels wealth up the chain to the wealthy oligarchs instead of down the chain to the people. Now the people are suffering from too much wealth at the top. The oligarchs use that wealth to invest in think tanks and political bribes to make them stronger and John Q. Citizen weaker. All the mean hearted legislation, a corrupted Supreme Court that protects the corporate instead of the people. We must defang the vampire capitalist on the people's necks.
Vote him out. Just vote him
Yes,
out.
vote him out.
Yes.
Now,
Yes.
you notice how I started about we that you have the power, the personal power. You're a lot stronger than you believe. And that is the thing that that the few that run everything is scared about. You have to be you have a real democracy requires a certain level of education. And people don't like when you say that because it sounds elitist, right? But it is not elitist. It's simply the truth. And I give an example, right? If we have let's say 100 barrels of corn, and we are all hungry, and we have that 100 barrels of corn can fill everybody to the limit that they need to be filled up, more so than they need, but that they want to be filled up. And everybody do a vote and say, let's do it. And there are a few people that don't realize, well, you have to keep one of the 100 barrels to grow the next crop. And people would say, well, uh, we voted to use it all. Now, in a real democracy, a democracy that doesn't have people that are thinking, you have to use all the barrel, and you extinct the whole folks because you don't have anything for the next year, so you all die, right? So a true democracy existing in a place where there is where people don't think correctly have two things that occur. You either have to create an anti democratic strand that's going to say, I don't care what 90% of you believe, I am holding on to that barrel of corn to grow it because I know what's best. In that situation, that dictator or that autocrat knew what's best than the population. So the population in the aggregate in a democracy without without education can actually harm itself. So we need a democracy. If we are going to maintain a democracy that doesn't hurt itself, we have to be educated. We have to understand that we may not be able to use uh, that that one of the 99, one of the 100 barrels of corn we can't use. We have to keep it back. But all of us in a place where everybody is educated, we all know why, and we would vote accordingly. What we have in society today is a select group of people who want to create an autocracy, understanding that an uneducated democracy doesn't do what's best for it, and in such would support the autocrat, right? I mean, and that's just how it works. And you look and you look at several channels, and I'm not only talking Fox News or Newsmax or OAN, that whose motto is to make people dumb. That's what those channels do. They make you dumb. They make you believe in things that just make no sense, makes you dumb. But I'm talking about when you turn on MSNBC and you see an ad that starts to tell you that look, first of all, if you're a nurse practitioner, if you are a what you call those doctors, it's not assistant doctor, but they're nurse practitioners, and there are a couple of professions that are a nudge under a doctor. I don't want to knock that at all. That's important, especially it's important because there are a lot of things that we don't need a doctor for, that we can use somebody that has a little less training for, etc. But when you start to see ads on TV promoting everybody going to a nurse practitioner and trying to equate that a nurse practitioner or a physician assistant is equivalent to the full-fledged doctor, you understand that a miseducation campaign is going on for a reason. And yes, it all has to do with the economy. But the reason I'm saying this is the miseducation of Americans don't begin with republicanism on Fox News or etc. It's deeper than republicanism. It's economics. It's those who control our economic system. So everything that Jack just said about what the billionaires are doing, etc., is actually important to understand. So today's topic, the name of the program today, or the title of the program today is Unconscionable Billionaire Growth, Winning 2024 in a Landslide, and Republican versus MAGA Rift. I'm not going to get to all of those. Remember, you can always go visit politicsdoneright.com/newsletter with all the links of the videos, etc., and more articles that I wrote or that others have contributed to my website that that we carry. Knowledge is the only thing that can maintain a real democracy. And that is one of the things that many of us have dedicated our lives to doing outside of the mainstream media, outside of those that are there to do nothing but attempt to control our minds. So, going back to the beginning of the show, when I said you can make your own reality, which is real, you have the power no matter what your condition is, whether you're poor, rich, or whatever, you can be you and you can be your own being. It seems like we have a caller at the beginning of the program, so I'm going to talk to Peter. I want to tell folks to give us a call at 713-526-5738. Again, that number is 713-526-5738. Come on in, Peter.
Thank you so much, and good morning, Politics Done Right. And again, thank you so much for allowing me to have the voice on your show, Egberto. And I was just listening to y'all this morning, and we need to vote them out. So I love your sort of professor hypotheticals, but it'd be great if we could focus on the real. Like, say, we have Dan Crenshaw as our representative, and the latest atrocity that he did is he's trying to block an EPA ruling that simply just trying to make our community safer. Like, he's trying to block this hydrofluoric acid at our places where they make gasoline. And in case it's right in our local newspaper this morning, yesterday, Houston Chronicle. So I just love if you can bring some of those issues to light, like safer air, safer water, everything to drink, to our air to breathe. And so I've got my hashtag there on Twitter. It's hashtag Flip Dan Crenshaw. So I'd love to do a few moments, I'd be glad to expand on myself. I'm running against Dan Crenshaw and how I want to make our community safer, cleaner air, cleaner conditions, working conditions for our for our workers here in our community in Baytown, and have a safer environment for us all to live. That's why I was calling you this morning, Egberto. Again, thank you for allowing me to have a voice on your show. And Jack, you guys are piggybacking what you guys are saying. Yeah, let's vote them out and let's vote in reasonable representatives. Peter Filler for U.S. House, be a good start. U.S. House District 2. Appreciate you guys.
Thank you very much, Peter. Thank you so kindly, Peter. And Peter is, in fact, running for District 2 in the Congressional District 2 for the United States Congress. Good luck, and you keep on pushing on, all right? Take care, buddy. Have a great day.
Your thoughts. Thank you. Thanks again.
Bye-bye. All right, let's go to Brother Joe. Come on in, Joe. How are you doing this morning?
Oh, man, bright-eyed and bushy-tailed. How about you?
I'm doing fine, my brother. Talk to me.
Man, good deal. Man, I've never heard Howard clutch his pearls before, but he sure did this morning. I think both of the engineers were doing a little pearl clutching this morning. But what to say? I heard. Did you just say that MSNBC is in the same category as Fox News and those others?
Let me qualify that. I didn't want to create false equivalencies, but my thing is that they're all doing the same things to the same degree, and they're making us pretty darn dumb. And it's not. And by the way, I'm not talking about, let's say, some of the protagonists. Like, I think Chris Hayes is one of the most smart analyst on TV. He's very knowledgeable, but I mean all these station plays the same ads, the same things that are being pushed down from our corporatocracy, and it is making many of us who don't get it less intelligent than we really are. Everybody that's listening to this show, well, I believe in the composite knowledge of us all. So I don't think anybody is intrinsically dumb. I just think externalities create that. But go ahead, Joe.
Yeah, all of those media outlets, they have a narrative that they're pushing, and they're doing it for a profit. But there's a couple of guys out there. If you don't have the time, to look at the raw data, which is most people, and really you just need a brief analysis. Glenn Greenwald, it has built a pretty good reputation for himself.
Oh yeah, he's in Brazil right now, and you're actually right. Now Glenn sometimes get on my nerves because sometimes he goes a little bit too far when he's bringing people along. In other words, um, well, I won't go into that, but yeah, he's knowledgeable, very knowledgeable. I agree.
Yeah. So anyway, I like to look at the raw data as much as possible, be it economic reports, scientific journals, and so forth, rather than rely on analysis from any of those media outlets. Those guys they're pushing the narrative, and they're hurting America actually. And it goes back to when Reagan got rid of the fairness doctrine. Bam! Next thing you know, there's Fox News, 100% Republican all the time, and then then the Democrats fought back, and it's just been Burger King versus McDonald's ever since.
Hey, Joe, wait a minute, Joe. I love McDonald's burgers, fries, and ice cream, and I love Burger King's burgers, fries, and shakes. So leave my two fast food behemoths alone.
Well, just all I can say to that is watch Super Size Me one of these days. That guy, he ate
Yeah.
fat. His doctors told him he had to quit or he was going to die.
I know. Ray from Third Ward. We covered that on my 3 o'clock show yesterday, and Ray was like, "Egberto, you're talking about super size me," and I'm like, "Yeah," and I think that's exactly what these foods do to you. They super size you. They were talking about something else, but it's super size. Anyway, Joe, thank you for calling, my brother. You keep on listening,
Well, and one other thing, I'm glad that you made the distinction between MAGA and the rest of the political class in DC. Honestly, I think MAGA has a chance. I've seen a lot of people try. For example, the Tea Party. When the Tea Party first started, they had it right, and then everyone jumped on board. Ted Cruz said he was a Tea Party guy, and they just completely diluted the movement. Right. Well, I see this. Something similar might start happening with MAGA. Right. People might say, "Oh, I'm a MAGA guy," but really they're bandwagoning. They're trying to jump on the bandwagon. So
Joe, I'm gonna look. Since you are one MAGA guy that comes on here and say what he will, what I want to do with you one of these days is I want to dedicate a show to Joe, and you and I and maybe a few callers are going to talk what MAGA really means to you. I want to hear that. I want to have a show where every wait, let me finish. I want to have a show where we can have a real disciplined talk about what MAGA means to you and have it open up for people to hear. Now, I have some other ideas, like when you hear me talk about bringing the folks, the super MAGA folks are right out there in Appalachia. I think that there is a whole lot of commonality, except for the ones who delve into white supremacy and racism. I want to touch on that subject. So sometime in the next few months, we got to do that if you're willing to do that.
Yeah, come on, I'm willing. And actually, I'd love to when I retire one of these days, come down there and start the MAGA show, right? Come on at 8 and push that 8 o'clock guy right on out of here, man.
Hey, you leave
Start
my.
the
Hey, wait,
MAGA
wait, 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 wait. You don't talk about Hunter. I mean, about Steve Hunter. That's my brother from another mother. So you and I will go into punches about that. All right? That's my brother.
Oh
We'll talk
Lord.
later, Joe.
Okay.
All right.
Oh Lord.
All
Well, by the
right.
time Joe retires, by the time Joe retires, there won't be
Uh-huh.
a MAGA movement because they're
No,
going
I
to be
mean,
disbanded right after the election.
after the election, and that let me tell you what I really want to talk about, right? Things don't happen in a vacuum, right? And there are a lot of our good friends on the East and West Coast that they have a reason for why they think MAGA came about and why Donald Trump became this powerhouse. I have some, I talk to a lot of these guys, and I have some other reasons that these guys aren't willing to cover. And so I was going to use Joe to kind of point that out because the way things are working, a lot of folks love to be hating on MAGA folk, right? And I, 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 it is in the best interest of folks to have this fight between these folks because look, some of the things that they think are weird. And Joe, I've told you that directly. Some of the stuff that is simply weird, but there is something that there's a connection point there that I think we got to get to. So I want to do that. But anyhow, um, Harry, come on in.
Good morning, Egberto. Good morning, Jack, and good morning, Howard. I remember we talked about MAGA last year, and I remember you talking about when was Make America Great Again great for people of color. I think Ana Navarro said it best on CNN once when he said, MAGA really means Make America Hate Again because it's against DEI. But I'll comment on what you talked about yesterday again. I liked what
Mhm.
Patrick said about the minimum wage, and I think because I thought about this after I finished that call. I think Gavin Newsom and the Senator Padilla and the
Uh-huh.
congressman, maybe they're pushing for minimum wage and other wages to go up in California because I think Gavin Newsom does probably have aspirations to run for president one day. And if they can get more wages to go up in California for average Americans, that's going to make him look good if he does run for president in 2028 or beyond. So I think California is doing a good thing there. And I wanted to follow up on that. Now, as far as
Let me comment. But let me stop you. You just made one point, so
go
let me comment on that point, and then you come on. Gavin Newsom, right? First of all, he's not a pure progressive. He sort of has some neoliberal tendencies, but believe it or not, I like him. And what is
Yeah.
good about Newsom is, I think, in our current second to only Bernie Sanders. He understands messaging, right? Uh, Bernie
Yep.
Sanders would have been president if folks wouldn't tag him with the false belief of what his brand of socialism, democratic socialism, says. That's the only thing that held back Bernie. Because I'm gonna tell you something that's interesting. Bernie had the MAGA folk before Trump had the MAGA folk. Okay, and that's where I talk about some intersectionality there. Bernie had a whole bunch of economic justice, criminal justice folks, and eventually, after Arizona, racial justice folk, right? We had to do some things to Bernie in Arizona for him to change his message. Check those videos out of what we did with Netroots in Arizona. That was a fantastic transition for Bernie. But I mean,
Right.
people have to get it. So Gavin would make a good deliverer of the true progressive message. Less the few of the things that I said makes him a neoliberal. But go ahead, Harry.
Yeah, if you can make if they can get if Gavin does run, push him further left. Now, yeah, what Jack Van Dever said is absolutely correct. Neoliberalism, trickle down, what you call it, or what you said about the Laffer curve and Laffernomics, that stuff
Hmm.
does not trickle down to the middle class and to the poor. It's top down. It's not bottom up. It's just Reverend Al Sharpton said this, or he said it many times. We still wait for it to trickle down. Now, I got a friend in Florida who is, as Howard would say, I told Howard about this, my friend in Florida, I think a few days when I called the business line. He's suffering from Trump deranged syndrome. I have given him this phone number to call Politics Done Right. I said, you need to talk to Egberto Willis. He'll challenge you on why you think Trump will do a great job if he gets back into office. You know, he's all spouting off that, saying stuff like Donald Trump didn't get to finish his presidency. The 2020 election was rigged. He'll fix the border thing. He'll fix the Ukraine situation with Putin, and he'll fix what's going on in Gaza. And I keep telling him things like, he's not going to fix that border thing because, as was on Steve Hunter's show, that lawyer that he interviewed, they need those undocumented immigrants to work these jobs here because Americans won't do them because they want worker protection rights, they want union, and they take advantage of the corporations take advantage
Harry,
of the undocumented workers.
Harry, yeah, look, you're right. These things are things that many of us know. It's a matter of how we communicate it. But Harry, the phones are starting to pick up, and I need to go to the next caller.
I
So
hope
thank
I
you.
can get my friend to call you one day so you can challenge him on Donald Trump because he is dangerous and he is not good for this country or this world.
Thank you,
He's a
brother.
disaster. And he's
Thank
going
you,
to
brother.
autograph.
I appreciate you, Harry. Let's go to Augie. And folks, the number is 713-526-5738. I do want to interrupt in a little bit to talk a little bit about this billionaire list. I want to get to that, but let me go ahead and get some more calls in, and then I'll get there. Augie, come on in, my brother.
Good morning. That thing about education, that's what they did with the slaves back 1800. They didn't want them to learn how to read or write because then they might get smart too. And the slave owners didn't want the slaves to learn how to read or write, and you could get killed for teaching them how to read and write and get educated. And that's what the Republicans seem to be doing. And also another thing they're doing, they want us to go back to where abortion was against the law, which it used to be before Roe Wade. Women died, teachers, nurses, housewives. Just because they put a law in words on writing doesn't mean it's going to go away. They said, hey, I'm going to stop crime because I made a law. No, that doesn't stop crime. It just makes it illegal for some people to do that. And they pick those people to let other, like if you're up in the 1%, or they let you get away with it, but not the middle class or lower class.
And you know what? I'm glad you said that, Augie. I'm glad you said that because what people don't understand. Remember when the everybody was on this the defund the police movement because you want to move money from law enforcement into programs that actually work. Um, and when I talk about a democracy needing an educated population, if you're going to put a whole lot of money into fighting crime, you're fighting something that has already occurred. Why not instead invest some of that money into to tackling the problems that create the crime in the first place? In the long run, it's a lot more economical, a lot more efficient. So you're right when you say I'm going to pass a law to do this. It doesn't stop it if you're just putting a scab on a wound that never gets disinfected. You're absolutely right, my brother Augie. Continue, please, before I go to Gonzalo.
Yeah, and Richard, I wanted to talk about Brian yesterday. He said they did some research, and I don't know what he researched. He didn't research the Bible about calling God God and or Muslims call him Allah. In the Bible, he's called a whole bunch of different names like Yahweh, and there's
Jehovah.
other names too.
Yeah.
Yeah, Jehovah, and So I don't know where Brian is doing his research, man. He ought to read his Bible sometime.
But
And
the other
also,
thing, Augie, the other thing that I want to say is I don't that, and I try to explain that to Brian. None of that really matters. The only thing that matters is that, and I bring this up because I think it is our duty to say it. There are 33,000 dead Palestinians. There were 1,200 murdered Israelis. Again, 33,000 versus 1,200. And yesterday, seven are so innocent people trying to provide relief. They did some interviews with some of the people killed. They were proud of what they were doing, providing assistance. And what did the Israeli IDF do? Netanyahu's IDF do? Kill him. Okay? Continue, my brother.
well, part of those 1,200 Jews that were killed, many of them were anti Netanyahu, but a
Yeah.
lot of people don't realize that. And
I,
the Jews, they protested the second day, right after that, October 7th, blaming Netanyahu, but you don't see that on NBC, ABC that much.
thank you.
They showed it like only one show,
Point of
one
view.
network showed it. That
Yeah.
only showed it, and that's for only a few seconds. Someone just protest blaming him
Yeah.
on the second after that massacre, and they don't show that that festival where all those people got killed. It was 2
No.
hours later. Nobody warned them within those 2 hours.
Hey,
IDF didn't with those 2 hours to protect
Augie,
them.
I gotta go to some other folks, but that is important to note that the 1,200 people that got killed were close to the border. These were progressives that Netanyahu had no interest in, and to put it bluntly, they were, for all practical purposes, unprotected by whom? Netanyahu and his ilk, who took 8 hours or more to get there. Thank you, Augie. You have a wonderful rest of your day. Let's go to Gonzalo. Come on in, Gonzalo. ¿Cómo estás, mi hermano favorito de Cuba?
Good morning. Good morning, Egberto. Yeah, I want to express my support for the Kennedy candidacy. I heard that he's a little bit late in the run, but I just read about his partner, and it's a woman. That's another big plus. He's anti-war, and first of all, that's my position. I don't think Joe Biden will stop the war, neither in Ukraine, not in Israel, for obvious reasons. And Mr. McDonald, of course, probably he will continue with the rhetoric of his first mandate about making the European Union pay for their conflicts. But he won't stop the conflict with Israel for obvious reasons. So that's all I want to say. And if you want to add more about the Kennedy candidacy, I will be glad to hear your take on that. What's your opinion about him?
All right. Let me just tell you where I am at. Okay. I believe that in the long run, I would love to see a candidate from a third party. In fact, I think we need a lot of parties. I want a lot of parties having to make compromises with each other. Personally, taking my host hat off, I think that I think you vote for someone who can actually or who would likely to win. If there was a first of all, I could even if Kennedy could win, I couldn't vote for him because of some of his stances on vaccine and conspiracy theories, etc. That is the reasons that I couldn't vote for the man. I couldn't. But everybody has the right to support the candidate that they feel right about. Now, when it comes to third parties, let's say the woman from the Green Party and some others that are running, I have to decide as a responsible host, and now I'm putting my host like on to tell things as it is. And as it is, Kennedy can only do one thing in this race, and that is hurt one of the candidates. We're not sure which one yet. Some people think it'll hurt Biden. Some people think it'll hurt Trump. We don't know because we don't know what a prototypical Kennedy candidate looks like yet. But that said, I have to vote when let me take my host hat off again. I will be voting for Biden, not for Biden the person, but for all the policies that will come, not just international policies, because I definitely don't support his Israeli policy, but not for the policies over, but in the aggregate, what will get done under a Biden administration versus a Trump administration versus a Kennedy administration that is 99% unlikely to occur. So again, with giving advice, this is a platform for everybody. And Gonzalo, you know I respect you, and that's why you have the ability to come on here and say that's your candidate, and that's fine. But as a host now, I tell people why I take that. Go ahead.
In the real world, that's an ideal candidate. We all know that he is not one of the best candidates for the status quo. For obvious reasons, he's independent. He's not aligned with the two political parties in power. But I think that will give hope for people who are not in agreement with Biden as far as the war around the world. I'm not in disagreement with Biden policies. I think he's trying to do right. The problem is when voting, he doesn't come up with a majority because now we're not a majority in Congress. I think that's sure.
All right, you're kind of breaking up, Gonzalo, but thank you. And look, keep calling. Let's talk about this a little bit more next tomorrow or the next day. I want to get to some of the other calls, and I want to at least spend 5 minutes talking about billionaires. I have a lot of other subjects, but I want to at least talk about billionaires for 5 minutes or so. So thank you very much, Gonzalo. Keep listening. Tenga
All
buen
right,
día.
thank you.
Hablamos más tarde, hermano. Gracias. All right, let's go to Brother John, I think is next.
Hey, Egberto, John. Yeah,
Good.
Good to talk to you
Good.
again.
Is this
Yeah,
Dr.
yes,
John, right?
Yes, it's Doctor. It's the doctor. The Doctor John. Yes, sir.
Talk to me, sir.
Yeah. I gotta go with Kennedy. Got to go with Kennedy. A prior gentleman's name was Gonzalo. Gonzalo,
Yeah, that was
you're
good.
the man. I'm a Kennedy-ophile, and I first when he had that he announced his vice president nominee. I said, "Who the hell is he?" I mean, but he turns out to be a billionaire because he was married to the Google guy, but he gave a pretty darn good speech. I mean, like I said, okay, well, maybe okay, and but you vote for the guy on the top of the ticket. And wouldn't it be so cool if a third party guy won? Wouldn't that be like highly cool for our nation? Because there's something wrong with our nation that we elect a Trump, or we have to choose between Biden and Trump, and it's a state of affairs. And but going to billionaires, I'm almost to the point where I think there ought to be not just a cap on how much I mean, how many billions do you need? I don't know. Cap it at 5. How about that? After 5 billion, the rest goes to building bridges and schools and infrastructure and so forth. I don't know. What do you think?
Well, actually, I'm going to talk about that when I get the 5 minutes to talk about billionaires. But first of all, yeah, look, nobody has earned $1 billion, John. And I think it's easily proven that nobody can earn $1 billion. And that we have but what we do have is an economic system that the formula of our economic system allows billionaires to be created, right? And the hardest thing to do is to show that it's the formula that's wrong. In other words, it's the formula that allows some, a very few, to be able to take advantage of many. And while it may not look like the billionaire is taking advantage of the system of the people, that is effectively what happens. And that's what we need to talk about. And I'm going to try to get into some of that when I talk about the billionaires. But the other thing about Kennedy, let me ask you a few questions, though. Now, if Kennedy were not running, who would you vote for?
If Kennedy were not running, then I'd vote for Ralph Nader. Is he still alive?
Yeah, Ralph Nader is still alive. So are you telling me that
I would probably, I would probably, I guess I'd vote for, Biden, but man, I don't.
I know that, and
I don't know.
here's where I'm going with this, John. Right? The next question is: do you think there is any possibility for Kennedy to win the Electoral College?
Yeah. I mean, I know I'm out there I'm out on a limb. Way
Oh,
out
no, you're not out on a limb. No. That's not. This is what you believe. Do you know if Kennedy is on? Let me back up a bit. To win the Electoral College, you have to be in every state that's an electoral that in every state you have to be an original registered candidate, and then if you win that state you will get the Electoral College. Is Kennedy registered in enough states that gives him 270 electoral college votes?
Yeah.
That's the problem. He's not.
He'll be on. You see him on TV all the time. He says, "I guarantee I'll be on every ballot." Either because his running mate is a billionaire and can buy their way into every state, or he'll run as a libertarian.
Mm-hmm.
He's been dancing around with the Libertarian Party, and then he would get on the ballot on every state.
Okay, well, the reason I'm saying that, Doctor, is the following: if he gets on enough ballots to be winning to get an Electoral College win, okay, then I'm saying if that's the way you feel, that's fine. But if he doesn't have enough states where he can win the Electoral College, meaning that he's registered that he can win the Electoral College, I think then we also know that vote would be a protest vote, not a vote where you think your candidate can win, right?
Yeah, I agree that to a certain degree it's a protest vote. I'm just not happy. I think none of the above.
Mm-hmm, I hear you.
Maybe like the folks in Michigan,
Mm-hmm.
the Muslim community in Michigan, who said none of the above.
Yeah.
And I'm not that, I don't know, extreme, I guess, but it's
well, they did that in a primary. They did it in a primary, and a lot of those votes are a lot of those votes are going to come back, but some of them I think are gone as far as Biden is concerned for good. They're gone, period. I have to be more responsible and pragmatic in saying that when the way I justify being able to vote for Biden is, one, to understand that I won't be voting for him, the man, but secondly, that Biden is the first neoliberal to pass as many progressive policies, bar none. So I'm looking for what's going to work for people. I need people to have an education. I need people to have food. I need people to have policies that get them going. And I don't have myself as a host. I can't ask folks to do that, the protest thing. But I respect your vote, my brother.
Yeah, it's he's I just think the nation's at a cross point.
Yes, it is.
We're so divided. You can't even. I'll tell you, I have never missed a presidential vote. My very first vote was for Jimmy Carter in 1980. So it tells you how old I am. And so I have never missed a presidential vote. But this time, if it weren't for Kennedy, I think I'd almost sit out.
Well, John, let me tell you, I agree that we're a divided nation, and I'm going to tell you something. I'm going to try my best in my little part, in my little sphere, to bring folks and say, hey, we're all together. And that's what I preach. That's why we can have somebody like you on, as well as somebody like Joe on, and somebody like Gonzalo on, and all the rest. So I want to thank you for calling in. Keep calling and keep listening, brother. All right?
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Egberto.
Have a great day. Let's go to Patrick. Come on in, Patrick. How are you doing this morning, my brother?
Good morning, Doctor and Gonzalo. I just want to say sometimes you're not voting for somebody. Sometimes you're only given the opportunity to vote against someone. And I think that you need to vote against a president that had to request pictograms because they can't read in meetings. I think you need to, and this is Trump, I think that you need to vote against somebody that can't control their anger, because if the head of the military, commander-in-chief, can't handle his own temper, I think that makes the world a more dangerous place. And independent groups all agreed that we were much less safe and much closer to, I hate using words like this, Armageddon, but we were. I mean, that's the doomsday clock moved faster forward under Trump than ever before. And then to Augie, again, huge respect for Augie. Seems very educated. I like his views. But one, I'd like to kind of put a spin on what he said. He said that oftentimes a conservative mind puts laws in place to fight things, and I think that's might be true a small portion of the time, but typically I see the conservative mind as somebody that has values, and they think that their values are the only ones to have, and then when they see somebody else with other values, they want to hurt them, and that's why they put laws in place. If you look at the criminal justice system, if people were a little more caring and they were concerned about people's quality of life and suffering, that people wouldn't stand for it. But the fact that we have a system as terrible as it is to people and nobody seems to care, I don't think that we view laws as fighting anything. I think that we're just trying to hurt people.
Thank you, Brian. I want to leave you at that part of we're trying to hurt people, and I'm trying for us to learn how to be more empathetic, because that stuff about harming people is also a taught thing that we got to get rid of. But thank you, Patrick, for calling. Thank you for your words of wisdom. Let's go to Brother Jim. Brother Jim, come on in.
Hello. Listen to your show today. It was kind of some weird, I don't know what's going on, but I didn't pick up the first part of the show before Joe called, but after that, it's like MAGA. I'm not sure what the nuance in there is, who's MAGA and is not MAGA or whatever, because I always just looked at it as a campaign slogan. I don't see what Trump can say whatever he wants from one day to the next, and I guess that means it's MAGA. I don't know. What do you think on that?
Okay. No. Let me just tell you, MAGA is actually what we have to call a valid movement. And the reason we call it a valid movement is these are people who vote and do things in a block. Now, I would agree with you that the MAGA movement and the policies they support are completely inconsistent, right? And if you notice earlier on, I told Joe I would like to get a program with him where we sit down and start talking topics, because I think that is one of the things that we would be able to see. I think that's probably why you said the MAGA stuff sounded weird to you, because you have a president, a former President Trump, who is a leader of that movement, who does things that are completely diametrical to things he did 5 minutes ago. How can that really be a movement? The inconsistency itself of having a movement that can be so inconsistent is some of the things that we want to address. So, no, I don't think it is at all wrong for you to have seen that, hey, looks kind of weird that we talk about MAGA in this respect. Go ahead.
Let me say this. Everything I've heard also on today was voting for Kennedy, and it seems like we've got a lot of people out there that are, I don't know what you would say, politically naive or something, that somehow it's just voting is an opinion poll or something.
Well, protest votes are a thing, right? Protest votes are a thing. And the thing about it is, how do you win over somebody who is so, look, when you see what's happening, when you care about humanity and you see what's happening in Gaza, and you have a President Biden who continues to have this ridiculous support for Netanyahu, it is easy for someone to throw their hands up in the air and leave complete logic
Well,
and say, I am going to, let me finish. I'm going to just throw my hands up in the air and do this thing that's ultimately going to harm you even worse. As what I hope is a responsible host, I want to bring folks, everybody in, and at the same time be able to explain or talk about, look, let's go through this one step at a time and see what will that bring you after the election. What will it look like? I don't want to throw that in your face. I want to get folks the ability to express themselves as to why they're doing certain things, and then we can talk about, well, is this the best way that we should do it? Go ahead, Jim.
well, yeah, I think what's going on over there is a complete show or a week or whatever. You wouldn't, for example, people are talking about a permanent ceasefire.
Mhm.
That sounds to me something like lifetime warranty or something. You know, I mean, what? How are
Well,
you going to
actually,
have
no, no. Let me just say this, right? I mean, I want you to see what you just said, because uh, you are not wedded to a perm. You see, I believe in a permanent ceasefire, right? And then somebody breaks a ceasefire, you blow the person that breaks the ceasefire, and you continue the ceasefire. You have to have that aim that you're going for. It sure is better than 33,000 dead people. It didn't, or the complete destruction of an infrastructure that we're all going to have to try to rebuild. So
if somehow we're going to vote against and not vote for Biden and vote for Kennedy or somebody else with the idea that not realize that Trump is going to wind up winning and how that's going to improve anything, I don't know.
it won't
I
improve
don't see it.
anything. It won't improve anything, but you have to be able those people who are considering that, right, to logically come to the decisions themselves, that just maybe they have to bite the bullet.
Well, yeah, but how long is it going to take for that to happen?
Well,
Because
we have brother, we have until November. And what I'm saying is that the one
they're
thing that
not
we don't,
using logic to begin with. So
but
using
sir,
logic,
Jim,
I'm
I
sorry.
get you, Jim. That's humanity. Jim, that's humanity. You first have to gain the respect of folks to be able to ask the sometimes. Let me tell you what I did during some of the Bernie primaries. There are some people that just didn't see it, and I said, out of respect to me and the friendship that we have, will you make this vote? Because I don't think you're seeing things necessarily so, and we'll talk about it later. Those are the kind of human relationships that can do things. I don't there are certain votes that I've made that I didn't see, and somebody say, Berto, just do this for me, you trust me, da da da, and I do it. And that's where we want to get. But Jim, I gotta go to Brian, and I look like I'm gonna get 1 minute to speak about billionaires. Thank you, Jim. Let's go to Brian. Brian, you got 1 minute exactly.
Exactly 1 minute. Okay. Sylvester Turner bankrupt the city of Houston, fourth largest city in the country. And why aren't you talking about it?
Because it's not a true statement.
It's not a true statement.
It's an absolute false statement.
What?
It's an absolute false statement. If you go ahead and look at the numbers and look at why we are in the condition that we're in, it's not. And what would you have cut that Sylvester Turner didn't cut? I am not a fan of Sylvester Turner, but to come and save my brother that Sylvester Turner bankrupt the city and forget about what Lanier did and forget about what Whitmire did, previous former Whitmire, and forget about what Anise Parker did. That is disingenuous. Again, they're all built on the things they previously did. But I got to cut now. Love you, brother. We'll talk tomorrow.
633. No, wait, 633 million.
Hey, look, again, bad information.
$million.
Brian, I got it. Brian, I got to go. Brian, I love you, bro. I got to go. And anyway, folks, billionaires, unconscionable billionaires. A billionaire list just came out from Forbes, okay? And what it shows is that we got 100 and something more billionaires in the world. They control more of the world. And my contention is that they're nobody has done enough work, either mentally or physically, to have earned $1 billion. If you itemize the work that these folks do, it is the leveraging of other people's work. That, in other words, they're getting a piece of everybody else's action. We have an economic model that allows that to happen ad infinitum. And that's why they can grow and grow and grow. If you take a look at the list of richest people, a magnate of from I think he's from France, who make fashion and retail, is worth 230 something $billion. Elon Musk, whose work is built on everything else we created mentally and physically, is worth $195 billion. I can't do this in 1 minute, but I think I'm so strongly on this particular issue that I will take it up, I guess, tomorrow when we have some more time. But you callers have all the, you run the stuff here, guys. But anyway, go to politicsandright.com/newsletter, where I have all the links for the stories that I would have covered today. And we'll take it from there. For now, I'm going to throw it back to the studio.
Well, Jack earned $1 billion. Oh, wait, Jack is worth $1 billion. That's the, I guess there's a difference there. They just never paid him. Jack, what you got?
Well, people out there, besides the vote, you have the power of the pocketbook. What you spend your money on matters. You can slow down your spending and send a message to these politicians.
Vote them out. Vote them out.
Rats.
Absolutely right, folks. Absolutely right. Anyway, folks, we got to get out of here. I want to thank all the callers. Thank you so kindly for calling in. I want to thank all the listeners that just listen but don't call, but love to hear your voices. I really wanted to cover the billionaire thing. I didn't get a chance to do it as I really wanted to. We'll do it tomorrow. My name is Egberto Willies. This is Politics Done Right, and you guys know how I end this baby. I am what? Out.
We spend a lot of time deconstructing the news, trying to parse it into a form that everybody can understand. We try to find those little nitpicks where it flies above the fray, etc. If you really like these videos that we do, I want to ask a big favor. Please go ahead. Number 1, subscribe to our channel, and number 2, please join if you can. Thank you so kindly for watching. Keep watching. Please remember to share. We must populate the entire internet with our progressive message, a message that we know is what most Americans say that they want. So help us, please join.